Hey, good morning, ladies. Can y'all see us and hear us?
Good morning.
So it looks like we have some people on. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I hope that you learn a lot with Seesaw through this presentation. A little housekeeping. There's the comment stream here. If you want to just say good morning to everybody. Happy Friday.
And we just want to let everyone know that there is a 15-second delay on what you're saying and what we see. And we're going to try to keep up with that with another computer. So if you see us shifting away, we're definitely not, we're staying focused, but there is a delay. So good morning, everybody. Lots of people from our hometown, Walker Elementary. Nice to see people from Levi Milton and North Live Oak. Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you.
All
right. So we're going to get started and share our screen with you guys. All right, so this morning you are joining the course called Navigating Through Seesaw. We hope that I'm Miss Bea, by the way.
Hi, I'm Miss Will.
And we hope in doing this session today that you will get a better understanding of how you can wrangle these resources as well as curriculum and have them all in one spot. So at the top here, you'll see the URL. Let me make sure this is streaming correctly. It is not. Let me fix it real quick. There you go. At the top here, we do have a QR code.
Yes, a QR code.
It's a little early. QR code here. If you use your cell phone, you can access these slides through there. The only thing, though, is you have to make sure that your Google account is hooked up to your school Gmail account so you can access the slides. If you're not, it will say you need to gain access.
Right. But at the end of this, we provided our emails and we are happy to share this with you otherwise. So, okay.
All right. So we're going to get started here. Actually, I'll wait just a couple of seconds just to make sure everyone
if share this with you otherwise. So, okay.
All right. So everyone should have had an opportunity to log on and get the Google Slides if they would like to preview it through their phone. So before we begin we would like you to sign in. We have the QR code here for attendance as well as the website. You can use either to show your attendance here today. We want to make sure that you do that. Of course, I've heard there's door prizes and other great things to give away here for you attending these sessions this week. So make sure you get on and do that. All right, I think we're going to get started now. So good morning. My name is Rachel Bayo. I have been teaching for 12 years now. Right now, currently, I teach first grade at Walker Elementary. I am also the K-2 ELA leader here at West, as well as the Seesaw site coordinator. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm going to move over to Miss Will.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Will. I've been teaching for 8 years. I've taught first, second, and fifth grade. I'm going to currently be teaching fifth grade this year. Super excited about that at Walker Elementary. I'm fluent with iPad, Seesaw, and Google Classroom integration. It is definitely my passion. I'm very excited to share with you today.
All right, so in taking this session with us today, you will learn how Seesaw can help you navigate and apply digital resources all in one spot for your students and parents. Because as we know from K-2, parents are super involved with making sure their students can access materials. So this resource can be used in the class or through distant learning. So you'll be able to see both sides of Seesaw here today, however you plan on using it this year.
Okay, what will you be expecting today? Well, first of all, we are new to StreamYard, and there are some things, just some quick things to think about. Whenever we have to share a screen, it's going to flip back and you'll see us for a moment. So please be patient, because we do want to do the best we can, even though we can't be in person, to show you all the links and to show you how to do this. Now, we recommend too that you are already kind of familiar with logging into Seesaw and setting up an account. We know there's been some wonderful sessions this whole tech week and that cover that. And we just want to kind of show you more about how we use it after you've already had your account set up. So that's just something to think about. So we're going to talk about why you should use Seesaw, why it's fabulous. If you don't know yet, we're going to talk about setup and program navigation, just very briefly, like I said. And we're going to talk about applying curriculum resources. So there are some awesome ways you can apply Wit and Wisdom and Ready Math to Seesaw so that you can get students involved in that way. We're also going to talk about, mainly our big focus is helping you wrangle, wrangle all the resources that we're hearing about, all the platforms, into one site that's very kid friendly. And I'm also super excited to talk about Google Classroom and Seesaw, because we're going to be using Google Classroom and they are very best friends. Well, they're pretty good friends. We're going to talk about it.
So why Seesaw? Why is Seesaw so fabulous, like she said, and why this is such a great resource, especially for K-2, to feel comfortable, to show ownership, to have all of those things. So it provides a kid-friendly platform that they can use. I just know as a first grade teacher, Google Classroom could have some formatting issues here and there. I plan on overcoming some of those this year. But Seesaw is such a great platform where they can, provide DI, different ways that they can show their knowledge instead of just, typing onto a worksheet or things like that. Let's see. It also allows for feedback both from other students while y'all are in the classroom, though, as well as teachers. So there we're having that peer connection as well as private feedback from you. Students can also access it from home or in the classroom. So they can do homework here or digital assignments at home as well as in the classroom. Students enjoy using it, and it helps them take ownership of their work, and they're proud of it. Parents, we've also gotten a lot of feedback. Parents also loved using Seesaw over the quarantine this past 9 weeks. And they said because it was a one-stop shop, they didn't have to go to all these other websites. They just went to Seesaw and were able to access all of their child's materials. So here I just shared some pictures of some students from my classroom last year who used Seesaw, and they look at them. They're actively engaged. They were excited. They were ready to show what they know. So now we're going to get started and talk a little bit about setting up and navigating as a teacher as well as a student.
Okay, so navigating as a teacher, you need to remember, like I said before, I'm not going to go into the setup as much, but the 3 things I always make sure that I tell everyone when you're setting up Seesaw is add your students, add a co-teacher, and add assignments. And that handy dandy wrench that you see, and I'll show you, I'm going to share a screen in one moment, is your stop. That's your one-stop place on Seesaw. So as you're looking through Seesaw and getting familiar with it, that wrench is going to be a good friend to you. And I am going to share the screen for one moment. Okay, so we're going to share. I said it would flip back and forth this way. Seesaw. Okay, so thank you for being patient as we flip through this. So this is just my practice class. It's not the class I used last year. And you can see this is what it would look like when I log into Seesaw. And here is that setting wrench that you can use to add students, add a co-teacher, and not to add assignments. But like I said, the first thing you want to do is set up your room. So when I click on that wrench, it brings me to class settings. Just want to make sure that's working good. Okay, and when you go to class settings, you see they have add students and add families. So this is where you can add your students, and this is where you can add family members. And family members, if you add them, they will just see a kind of like a portfolio version on there. But they can message depending on how you set it up, and they can send you messages and take a look. So that's a great place to check. Here's where you can name your class. Very important when you set up your classroom. This is what I want to talk about. Because we are doing Google Classroom, you're going to need to link your Seesaw. And the thing you want to do is make sure your administrator is able to view your Seesaw. So you go to Manage Co-Teachers, and you're going to add that email there. And if you do that, it's going to make your life easier when you're linking Seesaw to your lesson plans, which I'll show you a little bit later. So this is where you would add teachers. This is where you can add students. Just going down here, this is where you'll set how they sign in. We're going to talk a little bit that when we talk about student sign in mode, you can use a student code. If possible, I am recommending having students use their Google email. Every student has a Google email in Livingston Parish. And if you use that Google email, everything will link up much better. But obviously, you want to do what's best for you. Okay, and here's where you can decide if they can comment on each other's work. And some of the features are for the Pro account. And I'm going to stop right here and say, just to let everybody know, Livingston Parish is awesome, and they have gotten the K and to 2 teachers that professional account. So if it's a professional feature, we don't have access to it yet. When we do, your students will be automatically added. So when I talk about adding students, I'm really talking about 3 to 5. That's going to be a great, this is going to be where you do that, because we will not have access to the professional account. But there are still so many great things you can do with the basic account. So stop screen share. Okay, so I just showed you how you can add students, and that is, or not, I showed you how you could add students and add that co-teacher, but now I'm going to show you the best part, and it's adding assignments. But I want to make sure that you take the time to really explore this on your own. I'm just going to briefly go over how to do that. Okay, so I'm back on my practice Seesaw. I'm just going to make sure that that's working okay. And you can go back to right here on that front page that you see. I'm going to go to add, that green plus sign, super user friendly. You can click that add button, and you just go to assign activity. So these are some practice activities that I've assigned for the purpose of this presentation, but you can also look at the community activities. Now, these are activities that the community of Seesaw has assigned. You can search by grade level. You can look through all different subjects. You know, they even have drama. I have not used that, but you never know. Okay, they have STEAM, all those awesome different activities. And look down here, they can show you ones that are really popular to save you some time. Now, a big disclaimer is you want to make sure you're not just assigning stuff. I've been there, I've done it, where I've assigned something, you know, just to put something out there, and you want to make sure you're really scanning it and making sure it's appropriate and rigorous enough for your children. Sometimes they say something's first grade, it's more like a kindergarten activity. So you want to do that. And so there's definitely plenty of great activities you can search for. Searching for base 10 activities right there in that search box. Look at all of these activities. If it is an activity that is multi-page, those are fantastic, but until we get those professional accounts, we will not be able to edit them. And adding one to your activity library is as easy as clicking, and you can assign it here. And if you put a heart, you can add it to one of your folders or collections just like that. So very cool. You'll notice when you go to assign an activity that they have their voice recorded. I like to edit it and put my own voice, or, you know, maybe change some of the directions so that it's easier for my students and more what they would like to see, or just making it my own. And it's not too hard to do that. you can go right here and you can copy and edit the activity. Okay, I can go back to my library and I can see that I have these activities that I have assigned, but if I want to make my own activity, I'm going to go here. And this is the only thing I'm really going to tell you more about adding activities is I want to show you the page, because this is like very simple to do. Everything's in 3 different places. So here you add voice instruction, and this is what I want to show you. Add multimedia instructions or example. So when we talk later about connecting and wrangling the resources, this is where we are going to do it from this screen. We have our linking. You can link anything to Seesaw. And sometimes students will need to log into that site, but man, it's so helpful to be able to just put the link right there in a kid-friendly way for students to access, even if they aren't getting help at home. So something to think about. Some of your students will be maybe with babysitters sometimes when they're on their off days or when they're home at, after school. So they have this link activity. They'll be able to navigate it themselves. You want to model that for your students too, how to click the link. Okay, and then we have our upload here. This is where you can do all of your graphic organizers. Any questions? And were there any questions?
No.
Okay. And then we have a, besides linking here too, here's if you want to put like an example here. I use this a lot. I did a lot of things during quarantine where I would do a short video, and that was really part of my lesson. And then I would put that there, and then the students could watch it over and over again. And sometimes I would use the same video if it was a routine activity so that they were always getting that instruction again. They didn't have to try to remember it. They could go back and look. And a lot of parents complimented and said that that was their favorite thing, those personal made teacher videos. Okay, so remember this screen. You can get there by adding multimedia instructions. And then one last thing, this is where you can put a template for student responses. Okay, so that is basically what I wanted to go over in regards to the setup and navigation as a teacher. And I'm going to go back to our PowerPoints. Thank you. Okay. There's me pointing to that link button that I like so much. Okay, there you go. Let Miss Bayo take back over.
Hi, you guys. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you about how to navigate as a student. The first thing I want to talk to you is about the home learning codes. So if you look, I took a little snippet here of my Seesaw. You'll notice at the top, it says using Seesaw for home learning. There's a blue button here. Once you click that button, it will give you access to all of the home learning codes for your entire class. You can print those out as PDFs to give to them to take home. Or I know that we're trying to eliminate this whole pads and papers and things like that, especially during phase 2. But what you can do as well is take a picture or and send it to that parent, and they can access Seesaw at home. So on there, they will have the directions for their child and how their child can log in at home. So it's already done for you, and it's literally at the top of your screen. Also, it's important to, at the beginning, when you're first starting off with Seesaw and introducing it to your classroom, to do a tutorial, okay? Show them how to navigate it. Show them how they can log in, how to respond, how to read the directions. So I have attached a link here for a tutorial that I like, that you can use. Of course, we gave you the QR code at the beginning of this session. That's so some of the links that we have linked to these slides, you can click at a future time and use it. Of course, nothing replaces you. So maybe this will inspire you to do your own tutorial and show your students how to navigate. It's 12 minutes, so I decided that it's not appropriate just with time crunches right now to show you guys, but it's something great that I would love for you after this meeting to just kind of check out. All right, so I also want to show you as a student what they see. So commenting and feedback, I think that's the best part about Seesaw, or what I enjoy, is that having those students connect with each other as well as you connecting to them so they can take ownership and pride in their work. Here, I just took a little snippet again. I love that snipping tool, and showed you guys how commenting would look up. So here's a student's response. It was a story map from one of our wit and wisdom stories, Brave Irene. And I was able to go on there and give a little comment about this student's work. And they truly enjoy them. Now, I know that the student one, where peers can comment to them, they're before the students see them, you do have to approve them. So, but I think that's a great feature. We don't want our students just, negative commenting or just inappropriate ones. You have control of that. If you think that it's not beneficial, their feedback, you can just X out of it. The student will never see it, or you can approve the comment and it will go through. So that's a little bit about how it looks navigating as a student. So now what we're going to do is talk about curriculum. All right. How are we going to use this in the classroom with all of these curriculum guides that Livingston Parish, that our district has given us to use? So the first curriculum that we have been using in the district for ELA is Wit and Wisdom. I'm sure you are all familiar with that. Just some different ideas with Wit and Wisdom and how you can use it within Seesaw. One way is creating read alouds with notice and wonder questions within Ed Puzzle. So I know that we have been certified in Ed Puzzle over the last couple of months. I think almost most of the schools are 100% certified. So you probably know a little bit about Ed Puzzle, or maybe it was from a tech session earlier this week. Again, I have my Seesaw attached here just to kind of show you what it looks like. So, but what I did just to kind of save back and forth time is I just snippet what it looks like. Okay. So I have attached the Ed Puzzle link to my students. I wanted them to read the story Wild About Books. I know that's with our module 0 for K-2. And this is a read aloud. As it's reading, it has points where they would stop reading the book, and then they would have to answer a question. There were 2 types of questions that you can pose to your students. Open-ended questions, like the first one here, where they can type a short response, or even multiple choice questions as well. So that first day, when we're just trying to get them excited, eager, know what the story is about a little bit, with Wit and Wisdom, that Notice and Wonder, this is a great feature that you can use. You can quickly just attach the link on your Seesaw, and students can quickly access it from there. Another thing that you can do is you can attach graphic organizers to have students show their work. Okay, so again, I didn't want to go back and forth, but I wanted to show you what it looks like from your end. So you're creating a new activity. You would add a title here. I did Cinderella Story Map. Then the instructions are also voice recorded, the instructions, just because I know, especially as first graders, the directions sometimes are unclear. They are having a hard time reading them. So you reading the instructions to them will help. I actually learned in one of the tech sessions this week some really cute codes to add all these icons and stuff we're going to share with you later in here to add to your instructions to make them more kid-friendly. Then once you're done there, you would then attach an item. So you can see here, you can attach an item using a photo or an upload like a PDF. So again, snipping tool is my favorite. So of course I snip it, share it, save it as a photo, and I uploaded it here. But you can also download it as a PDF, Word file, or something like that, and use this icon here to assign it. So then what I did was when I clicked photo, it took me to my OneDrive, or it would also take you to your Google Drive if that's what you're using. And then I just found the photo that I wanted to use, press open, I drop the file in there, and now this is what my students see. They have the story map. This was a story, I think, module 4, Cinderella. story map that I wanted them to complete during the quarantine here. And so they had to, and the directions were there as well, but they had a choice. And this is where you can bring in your DI, for all of your different level learners. They had choice here where they could use different tools, different colors. They could add a text box and type it in their responses. They also had a choice where they could use the microphone. That's this little feature here. And they can talk to you about each one of these sections, as well as take a picture. I know some of my parents, they like to print off the assignments, have their students write on it, and then that's fine as well. Then all they would have to do is click this button here and then take a picture of their assignment and it would upload. So they had so many choices whenever they were going to do this assignment. But that's how easy it is to integrate wit and wisdom with your Seesaw. All right, and this here is super kid friendly. I mean, it's a click of a button where you can, where the students can show what they know. All right, so here's a picture just throughout the school year, again, of some of my students working on exactly what I just showed you from a story that we did in class. They were able to choose what they wanted to respond. They could use any of those tools to do it. And look at them. They're actively engaged. They were excited. They couldn't wait to share and get feedback. So now we're going to talk a little bit about Ready Math. We're going to have to do it on here. So Ready Math, we'll do that at the end. So I know there's some questions coming through, and at the end, we're going to highlight them, put them on the screen, and then discuss them at that time. So Ready Math. We don't have access to online materials yet, or we might have gotten an email last night. So don't quote me on it, but I know it's coming really soon. But on there, I went to the first training back in May, and I noticed that during the teacher toolbox, there was all these opportunities for you to download PDFs, worksheets, PowerPoints, slides, whatever. So again, you can download those from Ready Math from their website, and then they can just practice on there. Again, it's just as easy as attaching an item. Link that item right here. You'll click there, and then you will upload it. Okay. You can also attach notes, allow them to show their work or explaining a certain activity. Then we have the curriculum discovery ed for science that the district has provided for us. So and these are all just examples. It's not, written word or anything like that. It's just how we use it in the classroom. And I'm hoping that in this session, that's what you get, just a teacher point of view. So you can attach links that direct them to their assigned activity on Discovery Ed. As you can tell from my snippet from above, I wanted them to respond to the engaged part on designing for plants. So I've attached that there. They would log in, of course, to their Discovery Ed once they get there, and they would complete that activity and then submit it to me. And I was able to look at their responses and kind of talk to them a little bit about how they responded. You can also upload assessments that were downloaded as PDFs to assign. So here you'll notice that I assigned a summative assessment for that concept 1-1. All I did was download the assessment like we would normally do. Instead of printing it out, I uploaded it to Seesaw. When I uploaded it to Seesaw, this is what it looked like. And you can tell right here, this student showed their knowledge with this, and they just wrote directly on there using one of those pens. And so here's a great way that you can assign an activity or an assessment for them to complete and show what they know. Super easy, and it was kid friendly. My first graders were able to get on and, show their understanding. All right, now we're going to talk about wrangling in all of these resources that we just learned about, all these different platforms. So over the last couple of months, we have all been certified or on our way to get certified in different resources: Kahoot, Edpuzzle, Apple Teacher, Seesaw. How are we going to take all of this information and use all of these great resources on Seesaw all in one spot? Well, that's what Miss Will is going to talk to you guys today about. How can we take all of these platforms and put them on Seesaw?
Okay, before I do that, I actually do want to address a question just to make sure we're all clear about privacy with Seesaw. Someone brought up a really good point about that. So I am going to take a minute and go back and show you what you need to make sure that you're doing so that we're keeping our students' data safe. So one moment. Again, I'm going to share screen. I'm going to go back to my practice Seesaw. And just bear with me. Hopefully you're able to see my screen. One moment. Okay. I'm going to go back to my class. Okay, so we talk about that setting up at that wrench. You want to, they mentioned like a loss of data. I have not experienced that when I switched over during quarantine to make sure, but they also did have, there's two ways that you can connect students. So you can do it through an email or you can do it through a code that that resets. As much as I love the commenting feature on Seesaw, everybody brought up a good point. Now that we're sharing a lot of these passwords, the parents would be able to technically log into that student's account and see their comments. So if you're providing an email code, I suggest turning off when you set it up. You can enable family access here. So if you're comfortable with that, you can do that. But here it says students can see each other's work. As much as we like that, because of the commenting and that class community feature, you can go ahead and flick that off. And you would what it would do is it would sign all students off. So they would have to re-sign back in. Okay? Always have this on. New items require approval. You do not always know. We would like to think that they would always submit appropriate things, but sometimes they just do not submit appropriate things. And you want to, I always like keeping sample student enabled. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about family access or showing that. There are definitely a lot of tutorials online that can help you with that. I really want to keep our focus on how to link activities and wrangle the resources. I have not in the past used family access very much. I tried it 1 year and I had really mixed participation, but maybe with everything going on, I will say when you do family access, they should have just access to their I believe they only have access to their students' information. Seesaw made a lot of good changes. I really liked how when we went into quarantine, they were blocked. They could only see their, for my account, they couldn't see anybody else's information. So I hope that helped. Remember, we're still learning. So if you have any suggestions about that, you can let us know that in the comment section. We appreciate it. We can all learn together. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead back. And I was just making sure that we clarified that with the privacy. So let me know if you have any more questions at the end, and we will try to do our best to address them during this session. Okay. Okay, let me go back to my, sometimes there's a delay on when it's shared. So Screencastify. We talked about making videos right on Seesaw, but an even better way to do it is to use Screencastify. There was an awesome Screencastify presentation during Tech Week I recommend checking out. And Screencastify saves all your videos onto Google Drive. So when you go to Seesaw and you're ready to link, you can get your videos right off of Google Drive. Okay, you can link everything that you put into your Google Drive is also accessible on Seesaw. So you don't have to put everything in a bunch of different places. You can keep it all in your drive. Very awesome resource. Not going to spend a ton of time on Screencastify. I do want to talk about Kahoot. We all love Kahoot, okay? And using that linking tool, you can go ahead and create your Kahoot account and then link it on to your Seesaw account. So it's a great way to spice up your formative assessments. You can create a quiz or find a quiz on Kahoot that matches your curriculum. And you're going to choose play to assign a quiz. And these are here for you to go back and check when you have the copy of the presentation too. You're going to copy that link, and you're going to use that link icon in Seesaw to make a connection. So once you've added your, when you've created your Kahoot, it will actually save all of the responses for you that you can go back and see how they did it. So when you do that and you I've created a Kahoot, and I'm going to show you how it works, but it's really just by clicking that play button after you're done and then assigning a challenge. So you're going to choose to assign the Kahoot to a later day to give your virtual students, at-home students, a chance to complete your Kahoot. And after you do that, you'll be able to invite more players. You'll be able to copy that link. And then here I showed you at the bottom the actual snip from Seesaw, where you'll be able to add multimedia instructions or example. And just by putting it right there, you're going to be able to connect your Kahoot to Seesaw. And that's what it looks like when you connect. And the coolest part about it is all they have to do is enter their name or their nickname. And I want to teach my students, I suggested ID number. It might be better just to do initials, or maybe you could assign your students a nickname so that you're not breaking that confidentiality or privacy. I just use this as an example, but you want to make whatever you want them to do to track it very clear. If you're going to use the Kahoot for any kind of assessment, you're going to want to know who filled it out. So make sure you're very clear. I don't want the name on there though, because they will show the top 3 scores. If you don't mind your students seeing the top 3 scores, but sometimes we don't really want parents seeing and comparing, it's probably a better idea to have a nickname or just a number you assign them. It doesn't have to be their student ID number. It can be a private, password number that they have, and then you know it and they know it and you keep track of that. So I can actually show you on my Kahoot. Thank you for your patience with screen sharing. So I am going to, one moment, show you my Kahoot that I have attached to my Seesaw. So, okay. I think it will probably play the sound for you. So I'm sorry if you get bombarded with that wonderful Kahoot music. You can turn that off. I like it, so I kept it. So we're going to go ahead there to Kahoot. And I'm just going to show you how cool it looks when they go to use it, because it's self-paced, like normally would do it whole group in a classroom. But right here, and I can enter my nickname. Sorry, we've got all your nicknames going on there, Miss Bayo. So let's say I did my last name, or maybe I did just my initials. Okay, and so I'm going to go, okay, go. And you can see that other people have tried it. And this is a quick break review of our session. So do you have to have a touch screen enabled to use Seesaw? Not sure if I told you that, but you do not need it. Is it a little bit easier for kids to draw on the page? Yes, but you do not need it. Okay. And so see how it has a score? If you're really worried, you can also take the scoring off on Kahoot so that there is no score, and then all they're seeing is initials and names. And, the kids do like the scores and to try to compete. But if you would like to make sure there's no talk about it or competitive nature like that, you can take it off. Can you connect Seesaw activities to Google Classroom? Nobody should say that one. We got that. Yes, you can. Okay. And I'm just going to quickly, just to show you what it looks like at the end, because I really like this feature. Look, as an adult, I like Kahoot. So I think it's fun for everybody. And do students have to log in? No, like I just showed you, if they're logged into Seesaw and they have that link, they are able to get right into your Kahoot. And I just wanted to clarify, you don't have to use Seesaw. You can use your Google Classroom, but if you want an easier, I meant to put both. Well, now you know what it does when you lose, when you get it wrong. Okay. And see what it does is it says you can save this link and come back. So if they're really curious to see where they scored, or if you decide to use that feature, they can save the link and see if they worked their way up, just like in a video game. And they could copy that and save that if they wanted to. But I definitely don't use their real name. Use a nickname so that you're protecting that privacy. Okay, so now I'm going to go back. All right, and we're going to go back to our, thank you for, as we flip through the screens, your patience again. Okay, Edpuzzle. So like I said, I definitely recommend, most of you have been trained on Edpuzzle. You want to make sure that you are taking the time to explore that. It's a great resource, especially if for some reason we're at home again. Hopefully that does not happen, but if we are, there's students upper grades, K through 5. Honestly, I know middle school teachers, high school teachers excited about Edpuzzle. So very cool. And you can stop the video. Ms. Bayo already touched on this. So I will just say that by using that linking tool, you can go to the activity and you will be able to just copy and link the activity to Edpuzzle. They do need to log in. So that is another login that you will have to have for your students. Keeping them similar does help because with the younger students, those logins can be difficult. But if they are on the same device, you can, if they're the only ones using the device or they're using it from home, they can keep it logged in. That's up to you with the privacy. If they're sharing devices, I would not recommend that. And you can go here and you can share the assignment here. There's a share the assignment bar and you can click it right here. I'm trying to save some time from flipping between screens because it is such a delay on StreamYard. So I do recommend you can either go from share assignment and copy the link, but we also found that you can just copy the link from the web address bar. And we thought that was a little bit easier, Miss Bayo and I. Okay. All right, Flipgrid. I love Flipgrid. I know there's a Flipgrid session going on right now. It's fantastic. If you want to go back and watch that one, I'm sure it's wonderful. And you can do the same thing. Once you get your Flipgrid link, just link it right into Seesaw. Now, yes, Flipgrid does link right to Google Classroom, but I know when I taught first grade, Google Classroom took a really long time to get started. And for the parents, it won't be as hard, but for the students in your classroom, they might want to access it just through Seesaw. Now, you want to have everything put in your lesson plan so that your administrator can see that, the assignment that you did in that Google lesson plan format. But you also want to make sure that your students are having good access to it. So keeping it in Seesaw is great. You'll have it right there for them. And in the classroom, you don't technically, I think it's very important that students learn the Google Classroom format and how to go and navigate it. But also there are times where maybe you just want to do the Flipgrid and directly link them to that or have them keep it on their portfolio. And you can use Seesaw to do that. Are there any questions?
So one of them was asking about Kahoot.
Mm-hmm.
They said, aren't picture icons available for students?
You can do that. I believe you can add a picture icon for the younger students. I think when I was making it, I was really thinking about my fifth grade year. But yeah, there are ways to make the Kahoot's wonderful. They have done everything to make it easy for students, a lot like Seesaw. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Another question, are Edpuzzle activities good to use with pre-K students?
Yeah, I think you could use them with any grade level because what Edpuzzle does is it starts the video. And I'm just going to repeat that question. Are Edpuzzle activities good for pre-K students? I really think you could use it with anybody because what it does is it pauses and then asks a question. Is it going to take a lot of modeling? Yes. Is some of it going to be whole group? Absolutely. But just getting them started young, they can do so much that we don't even realize. And once you get them started and you're enthusiastic, they can do it. Okay. So all you have to do, just back here to Flipgrid before, I'm a rambler if you haven't noticed yet. You can model for students in the class and set a login for Flipgrid. And so you're going to need that special login to get into Flipgrid. And then make sure students practice with their login number. And you can click to share to get that link. Okay, so that could be linked right to Seesaw. If there are questions about that, I can go back and show you how I linked that to my Seesaw, but I want to make sure that we're not taking too much time. And my last thing I really want to talk about is I know you've seen virtual field trips. Well, I found some awesome ones on Seesaw and kind of made them my own, including this virtual coaster. Well, is it showing that screen or no? Nope. I'm going to make sure it's showing. Sometimes the links won't work. So 1 second. I'm going to show you this screen. And the reason I really want to show you this is if you just copy activity link, it does not copy you to the activity. It actually takes you to almost like a snapshot of the activity that teachers can log on and get, but it wouldn't take you to the student's activity. So it's something I figured out the hard way. There are a lot of YouTubes online that say you can copy directly, but this is actually what you get. And when you try to actually do the activity from the screen, you can't. So something to think about, though, in your lesson plans, you can ask your administrator, but I believe this would show them what the activity was. So this would be a way to show your administrator a snapshot. And then if they wanted to log in as your co-teacher, they would then be able to like mess around with your activity. But if they're just trying to make sure that you have done your activity, you could put it right in there. And so this was cool. It's Expedition Everest, Disney's Animal Kingdom. And it has a guy screaming through that whole roller coaster ride, but it made me laugh. And it was like you're actually on the roller coaster. And then afterwards, you could have someone write about, would you take this roller coaster ride? All the writing prompts you can think of with a roller coaster ride. And some students have never been on a roller coaster. So this is a great way to get that real world experience as best we can virtually. So I really loved the different ways you could do that. And there's just so many videos online. Yes, Fabulous Friday field trips. We did those during when we were at home, and I had such great participation with these virtual field trips and beautiful writing from them as well. Awesome class. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to thank you for handling us flipping. Trying to show you in person, it would have been a little bit different, of course. Okay, so last but not least, I'm going to talk about Google Classroom and Seesaw, and then we'll have some time for some questions, and we can go back on anything maybe that we kind of pushed through. Okay, so Google Classroom and Seesaw, they're really great friends, best friends forever, I would say. And it's the expectation that we all use Google Classroom. And I know for sure there were probably some K2 teachers and maybe 3, 4, or 5 teachers that thought, well, Seesaw does so much. Why do we need Google Classroom? And I would argue that there are some limits to Seesaw. It's not as clear for when you try to layer a lesson. It's really just your one lesson right there. So I can show you with the Google Classroom format what I'm talking about there. Okay, so just really quick, I put the steps on here so you could see. It's pretty easy. The same thing with the linking feature. You assign the activity on Seesaw. You link the activity to your Google Class lesson plan by copying the activity link. And I'm going to walk through just because you're going to want to do this if you apply Seesaw to your lessons. And then students will have to log in to reach activities. Very important. Even though they're logged in on Google Classroom, they're going to have to log in to reach activities. This becomes easier if you did link their Google account to their Seesaw account. Very easy for them if they're using that same device to flip back and forth. And you want to keep your titles the same on your Seesaw activity and your Google Classroom activity. That way, a parent can easily see when they look at the lesson plan, this is where my student needs to go or my child needs to go. Okay, I'm going to go back right there and I'm going to show you the how to navigate that quickly. So I'm going to stop screen share. Thank you again for being patient as we flip here. So I'm back to my practice Seesaw account. Okay, and I have different activities here. And if I want to link the activity, all I'm going to do, if you see this here, it says bell ringer number of the day. I'm going to click on it just because I think that this works the best. And I'm just going to copy the web address bar for this activity. Okay. And when I do that, I can then flip to my Google Classroom. Now, StreamYard has me, there might have been a better way to do this. I'm still learning StreamYard, but I got to stop and flip for a second. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my classwork. I have just made a sample class with our lesson plan format in it, and I'm sure you've had time to look. It's instruction, practice, and test your knowledge. I had some people ask me, where should I put my Seesaw activity? Now, remember that I copied it already, but you need to know that it depends on what your Seesaw activity is. If it's a bell ringer, you might want to put it in instruction. Are you able to see it okay? Okay. If it's practice, you might want to put it in practice, or if it's an assessment, you could put it in test your knowledge. So here, I was thinking of using it as a bell ringer because it says bell ringer, complete the number of the day on Seesaw. Watch the video if you're stuck on how to complete this. Well, since I've already created my assignment and I've written out my lesson plans, now I want to link the activity. So I can go to edit. And here I had done it to practice, but I'll show you if that wasn't there. All I would have to do is click add link and then paste it. And what it will do is it will take students to their activity stream, and then they will have to find the assignment from there. To link directly to the activity, I haven't found a brilliant way to do that, but I think that as long as they're active on Seesaw, it even alerts them on their account when activities are coming up. It will not be too hard for them to go and find the title, but that's why you want to keep your title the same. So if I call it number of the day, I'm going to maybe put this lesson and title it there too, number of the day, so that they know exactly where to find it with the date of the assignment. And that keeping that date is going to help parents keep on track. And I did tell you that I was going to make sure you always save. I did tell you I was going to tell you why I think Google Classroom is great, even if you're in K2. And that's because this is your communication with parents. Parents are our co-teachers, and we need to communicate with them. When you go on Seesaw, there's a steady stream of activities, but it doesn't show the clear lesson plan. So when you look at this, this really, to me, organizes my brain, and it's just such a simple way for parents to see what they are expected of them. Plus, I'm not limited to Seesaw here. I can add other things. I can add Google Slides, and I can add different things. Now, I could definitely put Google Slides onto Seesaw too. If I want to make sure that everything I do on here is on Seesaw, I can make that happen, but I don't have to. So I appreciate that flexibility. You can see here where I put another Seesaw activity where I connected a Wit and Wisdom book. And if they click this, they would have to log into Seesaw, and they would be able to access that Seesaw activity. And Seesaw and Google Classroom work really well together for one other reason. So I'm going to show you that. Again, back to that lovely practice classroom. When you go to add an activity on Seesaw, and you go to create new activity, and you go to add multimedia instructions or examples, you can see here that you can upload, and you can do it from your computer or from Google Drive. So anything you did, I was going to show you on Screencastify. If you casted a video, you can connect it right here from your Google Drive. Any Google slide, anything that you want the students to see from Google, you can also put it here. I know it takes an extra step to use Seesaw and Google Classroom, but I truly believe that it is so kid-friendly that it'll be worth that extra step. It's very, the cartoons, the icons, you can adjust it for students with extra needs. Okay, so I think we are ready to go to back to our PowerPoint. Okay, so Ms. Bayo is going to talk to you about some recommendations, and then we'll have time for some questions.
Okay, so some recommendations here. First is commenting. So I know that on the chat, we kind of talked a little bit about that, but commenting. So in those pictures, as well as what I was talking about earlier, that is when you use Seesaw in the classroom. When it turns to at home, or the family can see it, you need to make sure that that is turned off, just like Ms. Will showed you before she started presenting. If you have any questions about how to do that, please feel free to email me or Ms. Will, and we will be happy to show you, okay? Do not hesitate. Some other recommendations, make sure, just keep it organized, okay? We're going to use these platforms. So adding the date would be very helpful for parents as well as students. I did put 100 activities on here, but K-2, you guys the district has purchased the professional version of Seesaw for us. So that means that we will have, unlimited activities, 3 to 5. You will be capped at 100 activities. But my recommendation is every 9 weeks, just archiving them. And so you will have, free up some space for the next 9 weeks. Getting parents involved is super important. It looks like my picture here is covering that. And then I've also attached a snippet of codes, okay, at the beginning of our slides. If we need to share it again, we can. But I know that these are all live streamed and you will be able to look at this video at a later time. So at the beginning of it, there was a QR code. If you scan that QR code, it will give you direct access to view this, view our slides. So you can come back and look at this, or I can share this through an email if you would like later. But I talked about it. I found this out whenever in one of the initial ones, but I thought this was really cool. I think it was last week during ELA training. But in the instructions, you can add icons to even help your students really understand the directions. Here's the text shortcut here, and the icon when you type in those that text shortcut, it will give the icon for the students to make it user friendly, especially for our K2 babies. All right, so now we're going to move on to our questions. Just remember that everything that we shared with you is just our idea for how Seesaw can be used in the classroom and at home. There are many different ways to use Seesaw. This is not just, the only way you can use it. So we're going to pop on over to the chat. I'm going to highlight some questions, and hopefully between me and Miss Will, we can get those things answered. And as we're going through this will also give you time to, in the chat bar here, to add your question if you would like us to answer. So I'm going to go through. All right, so I'm going to show this one. If we have started assigning, will these flip over to the new account when uploaded?
That's a really great question. From what I understand, you will not lose your assignments when they flip into the professional account. As long as you want to make sure that your Seesaw account is your Livingston Parish professional email attached to that. You don't want to have it on your personal account. So I hope that it answers your question. You can also check with your administrator, but I believe that's what we were informed of.
Yes. Okay. All right, another question. Can you use a document camera when video?
Right, that is an awesome question. So through Seesaw, I actually am not a big fan of the Seesaw video feature. I like to upload my own videos using either Zoom video or Screencastify. You can use I always made my videos using Zoom and recorded myself using my document camera. But I know there's a way to do that through Screencastify as well. So you can use it, make your Screencastify video, and then link that video right from your Google Drive onto Seesaw. And it makes me more comfortable too with editing and things like that.
Awesome. All right, another question that we have had. Parents will be able to see other students' work through students' account, PI.
Yeah, Liz, I addressed that a little bit earlier, but I want to make sure that we are so careful, and I'm going to go back and add an extra alert slide to just make sure that in the beginning of the presentation, you know that we need to be careful with everything switching and so many things going home. It's a different world. Sometimes we just need to be careful that we are blocking other students' accounts so that they won't be able to see it. And you can do that by turning off that in that settings. I talked about it back in the presentation. You need to turn that off in your settings so that they can't see others' account. You just want to be made careful, and also always make sure you're reviewing things before you're allowing them to be posted, especially just to make sure it's all appropriate. Model. Model what's appropriate too.
Okay. I know my thing is last year when we did commenting, it was in a classroom setting. They had that one code for that one activity for that one assignment in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. And then it expired every hour. So people weren't able to go on to Seesaw at home and look at it because you didn't have the code. So it's different now, especially if you want to link it with Google Classroom.
I think she covered aren't picture icons available for students for Kahoot.
Yes, I believe so with that.
This video will be available for viewing later.
Yes, all of our videos are going to be accessed through that same link.
All right, so I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and see if we have any new questions. How do we get a copy of the list on the screen? Great question.
That is a great question. So I don't know if we're able to link through on that chat for StreamYard, but What I honestly, Seesaw Help has the Seesaw icon shortcut. So even if you just Google Seesaw icon shortcut, it'll take you right to a copy of the icon shortcut. So that's how I found it. I just Googled Seesaw icon shortcut. So yeah, when in doubt, Google. So it's definitely something I think is great. I know it was a little blurry on that screen. So it's just through Seesaw Help that I was able to find it.
Yeah, and I have it on my desktop if you just want to shoot me an email, or maybe later I might shoot you an email and just give it to you that way if you don't have access to this here. All right, so let me see if there's any more questions. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, I thank you for being engaged and asking questions. Miss Button said Screencastify is fabulous, and she said you only get 5 video time with free account. Okay, and it's only $29 per year for the educator account. So thanks for sharing that. That is awesome. I'm going to say I really did make a lot of my videos on Zoom and just recorded myself. So I'm switching over to Screencastify because I just really like that it saves it right on that Google Drive. So that's really good to know. It seems like a worthy expenditure. I don't know that the district is providing that resource at this time. So thank you all so much. We're in this together. Please email if you have questions. I was really impressed by your questions and how engaged you were. And thanks for stopping by this early Friday morning, TGIF.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you. We appreciate all of you so much.
All right, so we're going to move on to our final slide here.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining in this morning with me, Miss Bayo, and Miss Will here, and learning lots. So we have the QR code here for the survey, as well as the tiny URL. You can access the survey either way. Give us a little feedback here. We would love to hear from you guys. Also, our emails are also on this slide as well. You can contact us. And then Denise, I would love to share that little snippet with you of our Seesaw icons as well for the instructions.
And if you end up needing a direct copy of the slides, like our slide link didn't work, we will also do that too. That's pretty easy fix. Okay. Thanks for being patient and working with us this morning. Thank you so much. We're going to sign off now.
All right.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day and a great start to your school year.
Absolutely.